our animation movie opens with Mr. Fox and his wife Felicity as they sneak into a henhouse and steal a bunch of chickens. But they're caught in a cage on the way out because Mr. Fox sees the trap and can't resist the temptation to spring it. However, as they hear someone coming in order to ensure their safety for the future, Felicity makes Mr. Fox promise that if they escape this, he'll have to give up the life of raiding farms and live a more settled life. And now we cut to a few years later and the Foxes have apparently escaped, and they now live underground with their slightly odd son Ash. Mr. Fox is now working as a journalist, and despite the very wise and generous advice of his lawyer Clive, Mr. Fox decides to move his family into a larger and finer home inside a tree on a hill. And why did his lawyer tell him not to move there, you may ask? Because this house is very near in proximity to 3 farms owned by Walt Boggs, Ned Bunce, and Frank Bean. And after moving to his new house, Mr. Fox doesn't know it yet, but this decision will lead to a series of events that will test his promise to his wife and threaten the safety of his family. And as soon as they move there, Mr. and Mrs. Fox welcome Kristofferson. Kristofferson is Felicity's nephew, and he's staying over for a couple of weeks. And Ash finds the situation a little intolerable, feeling very threatened by Kristofferson, who appears to be superior to him in almost everything, and he's a bit taller and more charming as well. Ash, in his jealousy, makes Kristofferson sleep under a table in his bedroom they share, despite his kind and gentle demeanor. And even though Kristofferson was being treated badly by Ash, he still manages to kick ass in Whack-Bat, a cricket-like game with a lot of complicated rules, and this kid just nails it. He's a bit of a natural when it comes to any kind of sport. Plus, he also knows karate. And as Kristofferson was acclimating to his new life at Mr. Fox's house, Mr. Fox began plotting with Kelly, the caretaker of the treehouse, to raid the nearby farms of Boggs, Bunce, and Beans, determined to secure a good future for his family and friends. And with Kylie, they go to Boggs' farm and they steal a bunch of chickens. And so that his wife Felicity doesn't find out that he stole the chickens, Mr. Fox puts fake tags on the chickens to insinuate that he bought them from a butcher shop. And the next day, Mr. Fox goes to steal from Bunce, and he takes a lot of meat from his refrigerated smokehouse. And on the third day, Mr. Fox, with Kylie and Kristofferson, manages to steal a bunch of alcoholic cider from Mr. Bean. And now that all the 3 farmers have been taken advantage of, they have a secret meeting, and they decide to kill Mr. Fox. And they hide in the bushes and wait for him to come out, and when he does, they shoot at him, and they miss, but they do shoot off his tail. And at this point, his wife, the kids, everybody's discovered what he's been doing. And as he was in bed complaining about how he can't sell this house now because nobody's gonna want it, he hears this sound coming from upstairs, and apparently it's the farmers trying to dig them out. And in order to avoid these farmers, Mr. Fox and his family start digging down. And when they thought that they were deep enough and were trying to fall asleep, apparently the farmers bought 3 very big tractors and they started digging up the entire hill. And so, Mr. Fox and his family are forced to now dig even further deep. And this thing becomes a really big deal locally. It even gets broadcasted on the news, and we see that the 3 farmers are not letting up. They are not gonna let Mr. Fox go. And they use whatever means possible to dig him out of his hole, and even though they used a lot of dynamite to explode the entire hill around him, they still couldn't manage to dig deep enough. So the 3 farmers decide to stop doing everything in their farm, and they combine all of their forces to starve out Mr. Fox and his family. And after 2.5 days of waiting, the farmers were getting very tired, and Mr. Fox and his family were getting very hungry and dehydrated. But all of a sudden, they hear somebody digging their way, and it's apparently all the animals that live in their neighborhood. And because of Mr. Fox, they've been pushed out of their homes, and they're all in danger now. And half of their families are stuck on the other side of town, and they can't really get to them. And being pressured to come up with some kind of solution, Mr. Fox comes up with this idea. And while all of the farmers and their men were waiting for Mr. Fox to come out, Mr. Fox dug sideways, went to their farms, and stole everything. And after stealing pretty much all the farmers had, Mr. Fox, his family, and the rest of the animals dug to the other side of town with all of the food, cider, and chicken, and squab, and whatever it is that they could find, and they were feeding everyone. And when the farmers found out that all of their food and cider was taken, they were not too happy about that. And as the animals were underground, having fun and enjoying this grand dinner, Ash comes up with this idea to steal back his father's tail. And he convinces Kristofferson to go with him on this kamikaze mission. And when Ash and Chris get there, they find some gingerbread and they start munching on it. And Ash thought that his father's tail would be in Mr. Bean's house, but on TV, he sees that Mr. Bean is actually wearing it as a necktie. And just as they were about to leave, Mrs. Bean comes inside the house and she starts chasing Ash and Kristofferson. And Mr. Fox, who was giving a rousing speech about how they beat the farmers, was about to be forced to think twice as their entire hole got flooded by cider. Apparently, the farmers came up with a plan to really flush out the foxes, and this plan worked to a T. And all of the animals got flooded and ended up in the sewers. And Ash managed to get there, but apparently Mrs. Bean caught Kristofferson. So the farmers try to make a deal with Mr. Fox. If Mr. Fox hands himself to the farmers, they would let his son go. And they send this message with a messenger, a rat that works for Mr. Bean. But when he gets there, his son Ash tells him that they have the wrong guy and that Ash is his son. And as the rat tries to kidnap Ash, Mr. Fox gets forced to kill the rat. And as soon as he bit him on the neck, the rat gives away Kristofferson's location. And all of this wouldn't have happened if the rat didn't try to kidnap Ash. Mr. Fox was actually going to surrender himself to save Kristofferson. But now he has a new plan altogether. He teams up with the rest of the animals, and they send a letter to the farmers claiming that Mr. Fox is going to surrender. And as the farmers wait for Mr. Fox to exit from the manhole, Mr. Fox and the animals surprise the farmers by using their plan. First, they throw a lot of acorn explosives and they burn everything. And as everybody was distracted, they release a decoy team to confuse most of the snipers. And as half of the people were on fire and half of them were trying to put it out, Mr. Fox heads over to Kristofferson's location, which is Mr. Bean's house. He heads over there with Kylie and his son, who just happened to be in the scooter for some reason. And when they get there, they encounter this rabid beagle, and Ash and Kylie go to save Kristofferson while Mr. Fox distracts the beagle. And they manage to do just that, but when they were heading out, the farmers were already there, waiting for them, armed and ready. And in a very heroic and amazing scene, Ash manages to dodge all of the farmers' bullets and open the door to where the rabid beagle was. And because he freed the beagle, he came out charging, ready to bite everyone. And as everybody was trying to run away from the beagle, Mr. Fox and his team managed to escape, and they actually managed to get Mr. Fox's tail as well. It was ripped to shreds by the beagle, but they still managed to get it. And about 3 days later, we see the farmers waiting by the sewers, hoping that the foxes come out because they think that there is no food in the sewers. The foxes have to come out eventually for food. Little did they know that the sewers had a tunnel that led directly to a supermarket that was owned by the 3 same farmers. And our movie ends with Felicity telling Mr. Fox that she's pregnant again, and Mr. Fox giving a very arousing speech about their survival. And at last, them dancing in the supermarket, happy to find a source of food that will last them for generations. That's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed your time with us. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more entertaining stories. You can also enjoy our other stories on the screen. See you on the next one.